Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Mancave Chronicles podcast. I'm your host Chris Grimm, joined by my co-host Pat Man and Dark Dragon. We're here to discuss about the Titanic company known as Nintendo. Being Nintendo fans, we actually have quite a bit to discuss tonight. Pat, Dragon, how are we doing tonight, fellas?
Doing great.
Doing pretty good.
Right on, man. So, the conversation always starts with where did we start with Nintendo? How did we get into this company? Where did it all begin? Pat, let's go ahead and start with you. What made you into a Nintendo fan, and what kept you a Nintendo fan?
Well, my earliest memories of playing had to have been back when I was about 7 years old. I think that was about 94 or so. I just really enjoyed the game mechanics. It's pretty easy to play. You got the directional buttons, A and B, and it just really pulled me in. The music, and the whole the graphics aren't the greatest. They don't really hold up, but back then it was pretty great to see on a TV.
Okay. And, you know, when was the first time you bought a Nintendo? Did you buy it the year it came out, or did it take some time to get that?
Oh no, it wasn't the year it came out. It took some time.
Okay. And why was that? Was it just because you guys couldn't get your hands on one, or is it just because, you guys couldn't afford it at the time?
Um,
I mean, I asked because I know a lot of times most conversations come up, we couldn't afford a Nintendo in the 90s. I mean,
yeah,
money wasn't really that great back then. So, I mean, it took a lot of families a lot of time to get it. But what was your guys' reasoning?
I think it was both cases. It was pretty expensive for a while and harder to find.
Okay.
It got easier as time went on, of course.
Yeah, just as all things. I mean,
Oh
shit.
yeah.
I remember when we had to line up outside just to try and get our hands on a Nintendo Wii, and had to get a raffle ticket. And then when you got that ticket, you were guaranteed that console. So, but then now they're everywhere, and you can buy them for even less than what they're really worth.
Oh yeah.
So,
You know,
um,
it's funny. It's funny you say that because that's exactly how my dad ended up getting our N64
oh really? I'll tell me that story in a little bit.
for sure.
We'll definitely touch base back on that. So Dragon, if you want to go ahead and take the reins, what made you into Nintendo fan? How did you get into it, etc.?
So, okay, so how I got into it, you want me to tell the story?
Yeah, if you want to tell it right now.
Okay. So, my dad had a friend, Wayne Key. He's no longer with us, sadly. Um, and I don't know why. It just happened all of a sudden. But we were at Hinkle, local um, arcade, and they had a Sega Genesis in there, and he really wanted that because he wanted to play the football games, sports games. And he was willing to trade us the NES for it if we want it. And we ended up winning all the tickets necessary. Like I think it was like 40,000 tickets.
Oh
It was
wow,
ridiculous. Yeah.
damn.
And some years later, I worked at Hinkle and actually learned what that actually meant in money. That was like $400.
So what an
And
average console costs these days, pretty much.
yeah, pretty much. Um, and So we got that, and we just ended up going to his house after we left. It was late. I remember it was really late, and we ended up trading him for it. So that's pretty much how I got my original, and I've loved it ever since. And some of my games even still have their name on it because they still work. There was no need to get new ones.
Oh wow, okay, that's pretty cool. I mean, that's quite of a story, especially since you guys essentially got. I mean, winning something and then trading for it. That's just that. There's no
Crazy,
beating
right?
that. Yeah, there's no beating that. Like I remember me and my brother, we were so ecstatic when we got our hands on those raffle tickets to get the Wii, because we were after those for a hot minute. And it's always kind of a bragging right when you can get your hands on a console. Like I have a PS5, and still people are fighting and clawing their ways to get that. And I had just gotten it so lucky. My brother was mad at me when I got that. Um, for
Oh
me,
yeah, I remember you telling me that.
yeah. Um, I guess I might as well just talk about my part. Um, I got into Nintendo because of my brothers. In fact, my first game playing was Mega Man 4, I believe. And it was kind of funny because I remember I was, I think, 4 years old at the time. 3 or 4, I don't remember. They were playing Mega Man, and I was so in tune to that game that I begged them to let me play it. And the crazy part is they finally let me play it, and it was against the boss. I think it had to have been Mega Man 5 because I think it was against Wave Man. And I actually cleared the boss my first time playing the console.
Damn.
And it was so cool to do that, but my brothers were so mad at me. They resetted the game because they felt jealous because I beat the boss that they couldn't beat. And it was my first time playing. They're all beginner's luck. But ever since then, I was hooked to Nintendo. And I mean, like Pat, I have to agree. It's the controllings, it's the graphics. You know, the simplicity of the console is what always kept me with Nintendo. They kept things pretty simple, and I appreciate that about a company. Is not only is it strong, but it can be its own downfall as well. But I mean, for me, I like the simplicity of controls. I don't like all this crazy stuff where you got to hold down one button, hold another button just to perform a move. I can do it. I'm just not a big fan of it. You know, and Nintendo doesn't. They try their best not to make it that way. Obviously, to attract a younger audience because younger kids don't like doing all these button combinations, but also keep the adults happy as well. So they've always kept it very well balanced and very traditional, which I can appreciate, but at the same sense can kind of poke at them for. So that's what made me a Nintendo fan, and still, and let's not forget that Nintendo provides the highest quality in their products. I mean, you could drop a controller off freaking 2-story window and it still works. I mean, let's remember that Game Boy that that soldier took out. I think it was in Vietnam, got nuked, and the thing was still working. So
It was in the Gulf War.
Oh, okay. So you remember? I couldn't remember off the top of my head. I just remember seeing it in the museum and that it was still working, which was just amazing. Again, they provide quality behind their content, and that's something that's always going to keep me appreciated about Nintendo. Most times you buy something, you don't have to replace it for either a long time or maybe you don't ever have to replace it. Even the Wii remotes still work on my consoles. They're a little choppy, a little bit, but they're still playable is my point. Where you can't do that with PlayStation or Xbox per se. Once a piece of that controller goes out, you're screwed.
Yeah, generally the only other things you see with that kind level of quality. Well, I mean, most of them come out of Japan. So like Sega controllers are like that. They're basically bulletproof.
Right. I mean, but like again, but you know, when we're talking about quality, if we're getting off topic for a second, you know, I always hear people complaining like, you know, well, they just don't make stuff like how they did back in the day. You know, that stuff will last you forever. And I'm like, well, have you not noticed that's why that company is no longer in business? It's because it lasts forever, so you don't buy any more product. You know, so let's just be fair. I can't be mad at a company for making those decisions to make less quality stuff so they can keep in business. But at the same sense, it does kind of get a little aggravating.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like I want the quality, and honestly, if it's good and you put out something with more features and make it better, I'll buy it, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's all I'm asking. More features, better quality, and more customizability. That's something I really want to touch on. Like, customizability is king.
Oh, definitely. But like I said, that's where the downfall comes in Nintendo's gameplay is, yes, it's simple, it's original, it's traditional, but that's not always what people are going to keep wanting. I mean, yeah, I'm a big fan of it, but like you said, you're not a big fan of it anymore. You wish there was more customization behind it, which it does help a lot. Like I still play a lot of Mega Man games, and they finally implementing that customization in those old games now in the newer updated versions, where you can decide which button is going to help you slide or help you dash. Or the old games, it was like, you know, it was like hold B and dash forward to do the dash or something like that. Like it was a little bit more complicated, where now you can actually you know, configure a button to do these actions to make the gameplay a lot more fluid and just more fun. Like if it's simple, it's fun.
That's true. Simplicity is fun.
All right, so let's go ahead and dive into favorite games. Pat, what was your favorite game? What was your favorite game series? And do you still play these games?
Well, on the Nintendo, I'd say probably my favorite game series. Well, or just game in general with Goldeneye. For sure.
I mean, let's start with favorite game first.
Okay. On the 64 or just any console?
Anything. I mean, we can talk about any console. I mean, as long as it's Nintendo related, you could even give me a top 5 because I know it's hard as hell to really sit there and think, this is my favorite game, quote unquote. Like, I know it's hard to,
Right.
but let's talk about our favorite games. How about that?
Yeah, it is pretty difficult for sure.
For sure.
Well, for Nintendo, top game would have to be GoldenEye. I spent the most time, wasted the most time in that game. Got so many cheats open. Just playing it all the time, basically.
And it's funny because when you do talk about Nintendo, one of the biggest staples is GoldenEye. I've never heard someone not play that plays a Nintendo 64 and they've never played GoldenEye. It's like,
Right.
It doesn't happen.
yeah, it just doesn't. You know what I mean?
It's like there's no way you can have an N64 and not ever play GoldenEye. It's just required. It's like this is required.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just part of the, again, that whole culture of Nintendo 64.
Right. I'm sure.
What was your, speaking of GoldenEye, was there a particular favorite gun? Because I knew I had my share of favorite guns, which was the shotgun. I don't remember what they're called, but they're the silver pistols, and obviously the golden gun.
The automatic ones.
Yeah, the automatic ones.
Okay, the submachines.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Oh, okay.
I just liked the way they felt.
Those are LMG Uzis, aren't they?
No. There was pistols of them. There were two. There were two gray pistols.
Two gray pistols.
Yeah, they literally look like they're like the same color as the N64 or OG controller.
Damn, they started with a D, didn't they?
Yeah, I just don't
Deagle.
remember.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't remember the name either.
Is it Deagle?
No, it was like a weird name. It was like a German name.
Something.
Yeah, there were a lot of German guns in that game.
Yeah, so those two pistols were my favorite. The golden gun was my favorite, and then so was like I said, the what was it again that I just named off? Golden gun, the double pistols, the gray pistols. For the fun of it, the hunting knife. I really did like the hunting knife for some reason.
Right.
Pat, what were yours?
I was more akin to the AK-47, and later on when I beat it, the golden gun, of course, the PP7.
PP7 is a classic.
Yeah.
I have no idea how badly I
But
want to
the
break out my
laser was
bad
pretty
Russian
great, too.
accent.
The what, Pat?
The laser.
I was gonna
Mission.
say laser, but
Because it goes through indoors, so...
Yeah, but then I had to go with the hunting knife because I don't know why I have this thing about, like, I love fighting Travelon on the cradle where at the final where you try to knock him off, and the hunting knife always helped me knock his ass off. So that's why I like the hunting knife. And
yeah, there you go.
yeah.
Oh shit! I was usually like grenade launcher, go, dual grenade launchers, go.
My brother was the same exact way. I kid you not.
I fucking just
same
nuked
exact
everything.
way.
I loved paintball mode. Remember paintball mode?
I wasn't a fan of it.
You weren't?
No, I was not a fan of it.
Oh, it was so cool. I would sit there for hours with fucking submachine guns just spraying the walls.
Yeah.
I just repainted the whole game. It's amazing.
What was your favorite guns though, Dragon? I mean, did you have a favorite in that game? Because I know, just like your brother, you love that game just as much.
I do, and so my favorites were always like the lasers and the grenade launchers, RPGs. I would use the mines. I would like set them up and then.
Oh, I forgot about the mines.
Pull the whole room to me, and then just boom, boom, they're all dead.
I totally forgot about the mines. Okay, good choice. I totally forgot about
the
those.
mines are great.
So, Pat, was there any other games you wanted that you said you had a couple? Right. What was another favorite game you could name off?
Super Mario 64. I spent about just as much time in that game as Goldeneye.
Good choice. Very good choice.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever unlock the Yoshi cannon to get to Yoshi?
I didn't.
There's a glitch me and my brother found out that in the far corner, you can wall skip all the way up onto the roof. It's hard.
Yes.
It is super hard, but man, it's a easy way to bypass it and get those 100 free lives.
Definitely.
I've seen speedrunners do it,
Hmm.
and it is hard. I've tried it.
Yeah, it's crazy. But again, another classic stable that, if you had a 64 and you didn't play a game, were you really a 64 fan at that point?
True. We played so
And-
much Mario 64.
Pat, and just for fun, can you give us one more favorite game?
Star Fox.
Oh, good choice. Good choice.
Damn good choice.
That's a dang good choice, man. I like that one. Yeah, it's funny because that game you can literally beat in like 20 minutes, can't you?
If you're good enough.
Yeah, if you're good.
If you're good enough.
Of course, I don't know what the
Took me a lot
world
longer.
record
I mean,
speedrun
the
is.
only
Yeah, me
two
too.
planets I had issues with was Venom and was it Venom, that gas planet, and then the that lava planet. Those were the only ones I had
Oh,
issues with because
man.
where you're constantly losing health. I felt like there was a lot of pressure, so those ones were kind of difficult for me to get done. But any other map, man, I would master that game. Definitely one of my favorite series was Star Fox, but we'll talk about that at some other time. What was did you have a particular favorite pilot? Was it Fox, Falco, Slippy, Peppy?
I think probably it's between Fox and Peppy.
Fox. I knew you were going to say Peppy for some reason. Mine's definitely
can't-
Fox and Falco. Did you ever unlock that hidden scene where James McCloud comes in and helps Fox?
Yes.
That's such an
That
epic
took a
scene.
long time, but yeah.
It's epic, isn't it? Though.
Yes.
While we're on the subject, I mean, I don't remember. Did you guys ever own a GameCube at one point?
No,
No.
not until I got my Wii.
Okay. One game we definitely got to stream together is Star Fox Adventures.
Okay.
It's such an
Cool.
amazing game. It's pretty much Star Fox Legend of Zelda.
Okay.
It's so cool, dude. It's so cool.
Oh, sure.
That sounds pretty interesting.
Right.
All right, so jumping ship, Dragon. What are some games that you can name off that were favorites?
Let's see, from the Nintendo catalog.
Yeah, I mean you can go from anywhere from NES to the Nintendo Switch.
Legend of Zelda, even though I didn't know how to play it because we didn't have the manual.
Okay.
I just roamed around and did whatever I wanted. And good times.
Don't
good
even
memories.
don't even get me started on the Zelda. I could talk your ear off on that.
Of course. Of
Okay.
course. You're
Legend of
much
Zelda.
deeper in than I am.
Um,
So much deeper.
so Legend of Zelda. Did you ever beat it though?
No, not as a kid.
Mm.
Not having the manual was a huge detriment.
I mean, it is. I mean, even as an adult, it's still hard to play. I mean, I tried beating it by
yeah.
myself, without help, and I had no choice but to look up the guide. So, it's definitely a tricky game. It's not an easy game by any means to try and figure it all on your own.
That's for sure. Yeah, we ended up using a walkthrough some years later.
Yeah.
Let's see. I played A Link to the Past. That's one of my favorites too. For the Super Nintendo.
Right.
And,
that
that
seemed,
one I actually got closer to beating on my own.
a lot of people seem to pick that as their main favorite Zelda game. I don't understand the reasoning. I played it. I liked it, but it wasn't like I felt like it was overhyped for what it was. I mean, the things I can say it's awesome is, I like the gameplay. I like the open world to it. The colors were amazing. Other than that, I mean, like, it was a fun game, but I don't know, beating it just didn't feel like it was very satisfying. And Legend of Zelda is definitely a topic that we'll have to touch base on because I have a lot to say about that exact series. So,
The reason why I really love A Link to the Past is because it's the Zelda game that got me into the story. Because since I didn't have the manual, I didn't know the story.
that's a very good point.
You only get that little snippet occasionally when you boot it up. The original one.
Yeah,
It tells
because
you
like
a little bit.
I mean,
It doesn't tell you a lot,
even the second one, I mean, it just throws you straight into the game. You don't even get an explanation or
Right.
nothing. Just like the first
right?
one.
You just see Zelda sleeping there, and then boom, game.
Yeah, you're just like, what the hell? Like,
You're
you're
just
just
like, am I perving around in her bedroom while she's asleep?
yeah. It's almost like when I remember my brother throwing me in the pool, and you just got to learn to swim at that point.
Right. That happened to me too.
Yeah.
Instructor just threw me into the deep end and was like, learn to swim.
So far we got two Zelda games. Is there any other game series you say you would point out as your favorite?
I got several. Rogue Squadron, Shadows of the Empire. Those are both
Oh
bangers.
yeah.
You have to play those if you have an N64 or just an emulator.
Right.
So good.
I mean, I never played Star
Um,
Wars games back then because I wasn't as into Star Wars as I am nowadays. So, uh,
we'll have to definitely try on it.
oh, absolutely, especially when we get Hydra in here. I know he can talk your ear off about that. And me learning
Oh,
so much about
sure.
Star Wars in recent years, I mean, I'm pretty well known. So it's gonna be cool going back to that and be like, oh, that makes sense now.
Right. Um, so was it Phantom Menace? The one of the first shot we see of Mos Eisley on Tatooine,
Hmm.
there's a ship leaving. That ship is the same ship that your character uses in Shadows of the Empire.
Oh, okay.
It is the same character because you're playing Dash Rendar, a famous bounty hunter.
I
You
think I
actually get to
remember this
fight
one.
Boba Fett, and it's so cool.
Was there a stage where you're
IG-88.
going through like a train, and if you fall off, you fall off into like a sewage kind of watery looking thing?
Yes.
Yes,
Oh, okay, I did play that game. I just didn't know what the heck was going on that whole
that game was
time.
hard as
It
balls.
was, but it's funny because it's harder nowadays. Like for 64, we used to play Castlevania a lot, and I used to play the shit out of that when I was a kid, and it was easy back then. Now as an adult, I'm like, man, these controls were so clunky. How did I play this? You know?
Yeah.
Right, right. I go to old games and I'm like, how did we play this? This is so clunky.
Yeah, it's even funnier to see like newer kids' generations trying to play these old games, and they're just like they look like deer in headlights. Like, how do you dash?
Right.
How do you do the backflip? How do you do a wall kick? No, we don't have those here. We don't do those
Uh,
here.
I was watching and some kids first time playing the old Sonic games and he's like, "Where's the homing attack?" And I'm like, "There is no homing attack."
Oh, like I know where they're getting that from. Okay.
He's like, "Wait, no, there's no homing attack. What? How am I supposed to hit them accurately?" And I'm like, "You just time it.
Yeah.
You time your jumps. Welcome to old school games. We're tough as nails because we were forced to be."
Yeah, we didn't have no choice back then. I mean, we were just
Right?
this was it. You know, we ate
The
we
thing
they
is,
poured nails in our bowl, and we asked for milk, and then we had to
right,
eat that damn cereal. So like that's how we were back then. I mean, it's different times nowadays where these games pretty much guide you to the end, where back then you had to fight to get to that end, and sometimes the endings weren't even that great, and you still played it for pride. That's where I think the
right?
term "play for pride" came from.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Any other
That's
games?
definitely. Let me think. Give me a second.
I'll give you
All the
two.
Mario games are good. Like, yeah, I love them all. Played a lot of Super Mario 64. Um, got Mario Galaxy on the Wii when it came out.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Okay.
Um, and I don't know. I just really like Mario games. I want to play Odyssey, and I haven't gotten to play it yet.
Oh man, I actually got to rebuy that game. That game's actually really cool. My favorite
For
thing about
sure.
that game though, while we're on the topic, is you can literally, if you have amiibos, you can actually scan them. In fact, this is why my friend Chala bought me a Waligi amiibo, because you got a Waligi costume. You got to wear the purple cap and overalls and stuff in Mario Odyssey. And another cool thing is if you had the Mario. I never got him because I just like I mean I got him, but I didn't want to open him. But if you got like the Bowser, the wedding Bowser suit, or the Mario wedding, you got to be wedding Mario, or like you just unlock different costumes in there. And I always thought that was cool. It had a lot of costumes. They had Gangster Mario, which was one of my favorite costumes. So yeah, we'll definitely have to play that game sometime. Super duper fun. A lot of adventure. It's like Mario 64 meets Mario Galaxy in that game. It's such a fun game.
Gangster Mario reminds me of this shirt that our friend had, and it was Gangster Mario, and he's holding money and a mushroom and a flame.
Oh, really? Well,
Yeah.
I mean, but you know which gangster I'm talking about? Like, you know, the old school gangsters with the Tommy guns and the tilted
Yeah.
hats. Yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah, that
that
kind.
yeah,
I've seen
the
it. I've seen
mobsters. I
it.
guess
That
I
looks
should have
cool.
the mobster gangsters. Yeah, that's my favorite costume. I love running around with that costume.
Oh yeah, that's slick.
Um, for me, you know, my favorite games, easily top right off my bat was Mega Man. Um, I really loved that game. I mean, like I said earlier in the podcast, it was my first game playing, and it was the first game that got me hooked. Um, so if I had to pick out of all the original Mega Man games, I'm gonna have to say it's a toss up between Mega Man 5 or 6 because I like the storyline of 5, or I'm sorry, Mega Man 4 and 5. 4 because they brought in the Mega Buster where you can hold the charge button, and that's what made Mega Man more iconic was that charge shot you did, and that was the first game that implemented it. I like the bosses in there. It was an interesting storyline. It was hard as hell though because you had to go through, you know, the final stage. You had to go through obviously 8 Robot Masters, and then you had to go through 3 stages, and then another 3 stages just to fight Dr. Wily. Same thing with Mega
Yeah.
Man 5, but Mega Man 5 had more of a deeper storyline for me because it was Mega Man versus Proto Man. Like Proto Man was leading a rebellion, and I thought that was so cool that we got to see like a brother versus brother thing. Because a lot of people, in case they don't know, Mega Man and Proto Man are confirmed to be brothers, both made by Dr. Light. In fact, Proto Man was the original Mega Man. That's why he's known as Proto Man, because he was the prototype. So he was actually stated, but he had, I think, the Freedom Choice chip put into him or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know like he chose to be how he was and differentiate himself from the Mega Man we all know and love. Definitely another one without a doubt in the Nintendo series is Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time for the Nintendo 64. I
Oh
think
yeah.
I think anyone's gonna agree with that one. Now I'm not gonna. Now this is gonna sound crazy though because it's not my favorite Zelda game. It's probably my second. I would give it fair and say it's my second favorite Zelda game. You know, before this triggers everyone, I have a deep reason why this is it. But I mean, it was the biggest Zelda game that got me into the series, maybe the biggest Legend of Zelda fan, and not the biggest, but a big one. I'm not going to say I'm a bigger fan than you. That's ridiculous. Everyone's their own fan in their own rights. But anyways, regardless, it made me a huge fan into the Legend of Zelda series, set me into this downward spiral into the whole storyline. That game was just phenomenal. I mean, there's no other way. In my opinion, it's the game on 64 that's up there. If you want to talk about the big 3, it's definitely Legend of Zelda, Goldeneye, and Mario 64. If you did not play those games, did you even 64? I'm just gonna go ahead and say that.
Right.
Rich, not a rich storyline, but a great storyline. Amazing gameplay mechanics. Loved the graphics from back then. There was a lot to do in that game. A lot of replay value. There's much more to say than that. I mean, it was just an amazing game. Nintendo should really pat themselves on the back continuously for that. If I had to pick a third one, just for this topic, I mean, because and now I'm getting all choked up with Pat because I'm like, fuck, it is hard to really pick favorite games. I could see why now. But let's not leave this out of the conversation. There's no doubt about it. 100%. One of the top favorite games that I had to put in my playlist is Super Smash Brothers Melee. And even with any Smash Bros, I'm just going to go ahead and say all the Smash Bros were amazing. These games are one of those games, if you have a Nintendo console and it's on there, you need to have this in your library. Probably arguably one of the best fighting games out there, especially when you get to have all characters from all Nintendo games duking it out. It was an amazing game. I mean, who thought that you get to be Link fighting off Pikachu or Mario facing off Donkey Kong, Luigi versus Falco? Like, you never thought stuff like that would ever happen, and they did. They made it happen. And then it sent this whole new genre of, I think they call it, I don't remember if it's called Smash Fighting. I don't remember what the genre is called, but I mean, it started its own genre. And it was amazing. I mean, this series is just straight up, again, one of those type of games you got to have in your library, especially if you're planning on having guests over or if you have a bunch of friends that are Nintendo geeks. This is the game to have. And every year went by, like I said, more characters made their way into it. They started adding specials, storylines. It was definitely one of those games that Nintendo really hit a home run and went and caught the ball its dang self. I mean, it's just it's that great of a series, and I don't think anyone can disagree. Even if you're not good at the game, it's still fun to play. It's still fun to go out there and play. You don't have to be great at it. You just have to know what you're doing, and it's still a fun experience, And like, I mean, I kid you not, me and my brothers, whenever we used to get into it all the time, dang man, we'd be screaming and yelling and having a blast. And my brother's fiance at the time, I mean, obviously they're married now. He used to have to come in there and tell us to shut up and keep it down, like, because we were just like kids again, like playing that game all over again. And like I said, easily in my top 5. The coolest thing is now Nintendo's really reaching out to more partnerships. We have Cloud from Square Enix in there. They had Joker from Persona 5. They had Banjo-Kazooie from Rare. So like they have a lot of crossover characters, even though people may think they're crossover, but they're definitely are. I mean, you have Ryu from Street Fighter, Ken from Street Fighter, Snake. I mean, well, okay, to be fair, Snake did start off on a Nintendo console, so I mean, that's not too
technically true.
Yeah, so
Metal Gear is on the original NES.
I think people forget about that. Just like everyone's gonna freak out when supposedly Ryu Hayabusa is supposed to make his way on there, the guy from Ninja Gaiden, and everyone's like, "Oh, so PlayStation did agree." No, he was originally a Nintendo character.
I know, right?
From back in the day.
Gaiden.
Yeah,
Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah, exactly. So,
like, have you never seen The Wizard?
Yeah,
or at least a review of it.
Yeah. So
like, there's a whole part where they actually state that very clearly.
Yeah. So like I said, definitely Smash Bros. Without a doubt up there.
I haven't heard that name in forever. Normally they say Gaiden. That ABGN episode. Yeah, that was funny.
So, Nick, was there a topic you wanted to touch base on?
Yeah. So, you've heard about the game auctions, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Mario Brothers selling for $1 million, $2 million. The bottom line of those is it's a bubble. It's a speculative bubble. It's basically Beanie Babies.
Right.
It's, if you look into people running heritage auctions and WATA games, or at least advising them, you'll find that they're the same people that own the auction house that's selling them. It's a total scam. There's a really great video that I will link down below that explains a lot more.
Okay. And what bothers you most about this?
What bothers me is it's devaluing my collection, essentially.
Okay.
And it's doing it in a bogus way, because if you look at the games that they've rated, the ones that get a really high rating, even though, that's supposed to be like the best of the best, right? Clean, clear, crisp, no tears, no holes, no water damage, no anything like that. But then you look at some of the games that they've rated at those very high levels, and you find that they have water damage, they have holes, they have tears, they have scrapes and nicks and cuts and crunches in the cases and all that. The cartridges or the CD's label might be warped or disturbed in some way.
Right.
And that's just not right. It's not a way to run your business. It's not a way to grade a game. If I saw that and it was a top-rated game, I'd be like, no.
I mean, it's still kind of weird to me, and I think we were talking about this the other night at your house. Is I don't understand why they even grade games and try and resell them. Like, a grading seems like more of a collectible thing, like for comic books, cards.
Well, that's what they're trying to push.
I understand that, but like, I just don't get it. That just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, why would you want to collect a game when you can play the game?
Right. Like, I understand being a gamer and collecting games, because I'm going to play them, Gamers, real collectors, real gamer collectors really want to show off their games, They don't just hide them away, Like, you're showing them off. You're playing
exactly.
Them,
like
having fun.
When Dave bought that Dreamcast and he brought over Spawn, I mean, Spawn's worth a lot of money these days, and he wanted to show, and we played it. Like, that's how this thing is supposed to be. Not some collector's marketed piece of plastic that you're never gonna play and just say, "Oh, I have a 10 graded PSA Nintendo 64 Mario, Super Mario Bros." Like, I mean, get out of here with that. That just doesn't make any sense. But the problem is with collectors marketing, it's not just in gaming. I mean, you're gonna face those problems anywhere, whether it's in cards. I mean, I collect pins, and the marketing is just ridiculous. Like, one moment a pin is worth $20 and the next second is worth $200 because someone put it up for auction, and then it goes from that price range. And that's what people do. They tend to think, okay, well, it sold at auction, so this is how much the price is. No, it sold for that price at that auction. That doesn't mean everyone's going to want to pay it. Otherwise, why do you think all these other people dropped out of the auction?
Right. And if
it will
the
give you
auctions are true, then I'm a multimillionaire. I have like 5 copies of Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, but that's my point. But who's going to pay that? You know, like you said, it devalues everything. It makes it harder for people to buy and sell the dang things because, you know, again, like as a seller, you want to sell it quick, but you know you're not going to sell it for that high price, so you're going to lose money on it. You know, you have to really, you know, understand the marketing and how to, in a sense, not really, what is the word I'm looking for?
I'm not sure.
I can't think of the word. It's always, it's right at this moment. I need that word that it's just completely evading me. Manipulating the market. Okay. You're not trying to manipulate to make more money, but as a seller, like I said, you're supposed to use these prices as ways like, okay, well, if it's sold for 200, maybe I can get $100 out of it. You know, like you didn't pay $100 for it, but you're going to make it. So that's what you need to get your brain in. Like I said, if I paid $150 for this Madara pin, right, and I do own this pin, now it's worth, I want to say $2,000.
God.
And
damn.
so if I were to try and sell it without an auction, I'd probably ask for $1,000 or maybe $1,500. Start that price range and then work my way down, or put it in an auction and see where it just goes from there. But again, I mean, like, some people don't think like that. Like, you know, most times they see something sell for a high price and like, oh, well, that should be always the price. No, that sold 4 years ago. The marketing's changed since then. But the whole point of this conversation is that you're going to face that anywhere. Like I said, I mean, I paid over $300 for this Charizard card, and you know about the card, and now it's only worth $150. I should have waited, but I got too excited. I really wanted this card back in my collection, so I bought it, and you know, I kind of shot myself in the foot for that one. But I regret it for the price I paid. Do I regret it owning it? Not at all. This card is gorgeous. So, you know, that's just marketing in general.
Oh yeah, no, that's generally how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
They want to make more money at the higher price, and they want to do it fast. And they're trying to do it way too fast with this, and they've gotten to the point where they've decided to just go ahead and manipulate the market to be what they want it to be, so they can offload what they've been saving up.
But again, if you're trying to manipulate the market, you got to understand that you're putting that price up. No one's gonna pay it. Again, like, you act like everyone's gonna value this game for that high. No, like, you'd have to be a crazy guy in order to do that, or just someone who's rich and has extra money to spend.
Right? It's like they gave away a copy of Mario Brothers with every copy of the NES. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't also come with Duck Hunt.
And then they produced so many hundreds, thousands, millions of units, a baseline for people that didn't get the bundle. So it's like there are this many copies out there, and some people have multiple. I've got 5, you know?
Yeah, and you know, and that's another point. You know, you just reminded me of something I want to touch base on. That is the only time I feel like a game should be worth that much is if it's a special edition or like a tournament based winning game. So let's say this is Super Mario from, you know, the World of NES tournament in Japan. Like, then you can ask for it because there's only 1 or 2 of those copies, and in it you can choose like a different color palette Mario. Like, you can put him with Wario's colors, even though Wario didn't exist back then. But you know, you can wear the yellow with the purple, or you can wear Waluigi colors, or you can make Mario black and white, like a classic cartoon. You know what I mean? Like that kind of black and white. You know, you can make him look completely blue. Like, you know, you get to control his palette with just, you know, hitting the select and B button. And that's what you get for winning the game. You get to, or winning that tournament, you get this specialized cartridge. Now, that's a game that's worth $2,000. not a game that's massively produced and massively reproduced and also put onto, virtual console and emulators.
Right. And talking about like rarity and and lack of availability, making something rare and valuable. The PlayStation SNES, it was found, the prototype. It was worked on by Ben Heck. He fixed it, got it running. They got homebrew software running on it, and it really does work. But that's rare. That's like a one of a kind. Yeah.
Right. And
Like there will probably never be another one.
And that's the point. That's something that can very well in the future be worth something. Not like I said, something that's
valued
over
at like 5 million.
Right. And I think that's the problem with the Charizard cards. Just touching base on that was like my problem was there weren't a lot of them out there because people were still pulling them back. So it was hard to get packs because of the marketing, because of COVID. We just could not get through to it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so now that everything's calmed down, it's easier to get cards. There's plenty of them out there. So that's why they devalued down to 150. Now, eventually that price can go back up. When it is, that's when the time to sell. Will I sell mine? Most likely not. I don't ever plan on moving on from my Charizard collection because it took me so long to get that collection back.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes sense because I mean, we're still having trouble finding cards. Like I was at Target yesterday and they were wiped.
But the Costco today, actually in Renaissance, had an entire aisle of Pokemon cards.
Really? Did they have any Yu-Gi-Oh?
I didn't see. I mean, I'm in a Pokemon group, so they didn't really highlight Yu-Gi-Oh, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
Okay. I'll have to look next time I'm at Costco. I mean, we're there pretty regularly, especially right now looking for paper because that's also in short supply.
Everything's in short supply, it seems these days. Jesus.
I know. Well, they were having a bunch, and then all of a sudden, like they've said, it seems like people are panic buying again.
I know. That's why a lot of waters apparently are missing from the big companies like that. Luckily, it's not hard to get them from like Walmart and all that. But I mean, it's just ignorant at bliss as always.
Like
as always.
It's like if you freak out,
and it's not even.
Cause a shortage,
here's the thing: no one's been shut down though, and I don't know why people are freaking out. It's literally just a mask mandate. That's it.
I know, right?
And
it's
everyone's
like just wear it when you go in the store.
Yeah, and everyone's acting like it's a big deal. It's literally a piece of clothing on your face. You put a lot more stuff on your face. You probably put some booty to your face, and you're okay with that, but you can't wear a mask for 10 minutes of your time in a store.
Well, I mean, speaking of that, you know how we were supposed to have a huge amount of flu? Like it was supposed to be a secondary pandemic?
Yeah.
The mask stopped it because of wearing them. It stopped it. It stopped the spread.
Well, some people have been having some flu cases here, but before we get, I don't mean to cut you off on this, but let's save this topic for another time. Let's get back to Nintendo. That's the whole point why we're even in here. So the state of Nintendo, fellas, how do you feel like it's doing as a company right now? Do you feel like it's still doing what it needs to be, or you guys feel like there's something that needs to be done? Pat?
I definitely feel like they're a little too restrictive regarding like their old library with how they crack down on emulators and ROMs.
Right.
There's been so many of those sites just wiped out from their hardcore stances on it. They really crack down and get to these sites, but they don't really offer great alternatives. If you didn't want to buy a mini.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I mean, like even they offer the Nintendo Online, the NES and SNES. That's fine, but you only limit us with certain games. They need to have like a Netflix on there where you have this wide library of games. If you're going to have that big of an issue with games, or I'm sorry, not games, websites emulating your product for old school gamers to play on, then you need to come up with an answer and a solution.
Right. That is definitely something that needs to be done. Sega is actually very good about this. They don't really care. And all the stuff they've been putting on Steam and I think on Epic too.
Right. And, Pat, there's something you just brought up, the mini SENS. Because of the limitation of games that Nintendo is restrictive on, that console was dang near impossible to get when they first came out as well. And it was just for people to relive nostalgic. I mean, I used to go line up at Best Buy just to try and get one for them to come out and tell me, oh yeah, well, we don't have any more. Like, are you kidding me? They only had 14. Like, how does this company not have a mass production on them? Granted, I guess they didn't expect the Nintendo to sell so well, and at the same time, they did have I think an open pre-order, but no one really pre-ordered it. Even I was like, oh, I'll just buy it when it comes out. Like, I was naive about it. I finally got my hands on it because it was mainly to get it for my brother, since he's a huge Nintendo guy. And let me tell you, bringing him that Nintendo console, it was like seeing a kid at Christmas again. It was awesome for me because my brother's like my father, and anytime any chance I can get to make him happy and smile is more than enough for me, especially when it's something that I can relate to. So, I mean, granted, I had to pay $160 for the bundle, but when you do the whole math, because I got lucky, I don't know how I won this on auction, but I won one for $160 a time. But it came with a spare controller, it came with an extension cord for the controllers, it came with the console, it came with a guide on the games, like a cheat guide.
Oh, nice.
And it came with something else. I don't remember what else it came with. But when me and my friend added it all up, it ended up being like maybe $150. So I was like, okay, cool. So technically, I just paid for the shipping, So in reality, I paid for what it dropped for. And the guy was kind of mad about it. But he's like, me and him had a conversation about it. He's like, man, I was hoping it was going to go a little higher, but it is what it is. I'm like, all right, dude. Well, I can tell you right now, this is going to make my brother's day. So I can't, me from being the buyer, I can't thank you enough. He's like, hey man, no problem. I'm just happy it's going to go to a good home. Cool. Like we talked.
This is real gamers talking to each other.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, Pat, again, if you're not going to provide, all those game libraries, if you're going to come out with something as such as the Nintendo, the SNES Mini, why not have a port to it to where you can upload more games? Pay for them. Like say, like, oh, here's an expansion pass that's sure. $20, but it gives you 50 more games. And then 50 more games. Like, that's the smart way of marketing a product, in my opinion. Yeah. And it would just give it more value. Or even if you want, and I mean, I'm not going to encourage this, but if you want to do it this way, come out with this SNES 2, but a different color. SNES 2 will have Batman. We'll have the classic, Star Fox was on Super Nintendo. Let's say Batman. Let's say Mario Lost Levels. I'm just using these examples. Metal Gear wasn't on the original, so Metal Gear. Like, put a bunch of games that were on the first one onto the second one, and then there you go. You're making more money yet again. You know what I mean? And you're also kind of keeping it as a collector's thing because, you got now I got the black one that's a version 2. Okay, the version 3 will be a clear one. And if they ever get to a version 4, here's
orange.
Here's orange, yeah. Or
the
even
orange, like Nintendo 64 one.
Or even like you can keep it red and blue to symbolize Mario.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's so much things you can do with that.
Right.
But
Oh yeah, totally.
There's a reason why I'm behind the mic at my desk, not working for Nintendo. So apparently, what they're doing, they feel like is right, whatever. But I totally agree with you. They need to have more open access to games, especially for classic fans.
I really feel like they should have put the port that you could just plug a USB stick into to update it with new games.
Definitely, and like I said,
that would have been the smart thing.
And if they're not,
you can do it if you're willing to hack it.
Yeah, but you shouldn't have to. Is my point. And I think it's Pat's point too. And again, if you're not gonna do that kind of thing, you need to offer a subscription that has access to all games. That way, everyone can have fun with it, and it just brings up all the value because now you're gonna have streamers and YouTubers, and just basic fans all wanting to buy this product to whether they want to play it, whether they want to promote it or stream it. You're opening the doors to endless possibilities at that point. That's going to keep the market value high on your company.
Right. I've got the Genesis Mini, and that was super simple to hack. Like, you just plugged it into your computer, and it was open to you, and then you could just dump stuff to it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like they left it completely unprotected because Sega just doesn't care.
Right.
Sega's like, emulators, ROMs, they're old. Who cares?
What about you, Nick? What do you feel about the state of Nintendo, and also what do you wish they could change? That doesn't relate to Pat's answer.
Okay. So basically, my problem with Nintendo is Well, it's kind of the same thing. It's that they're too draconian with everything. They want everything to be in their control, and I feel like that's not a great way to run a games company.
Right.
Shared responsibility. Players have their responsibility to play games, beat games, and not pirate
Well,
as much as possible.
most importantly though is we pay for the product. Let us use the product we paid for.
Right. Let me do what I want with it. It's mine. This is
Yeah.
mine. I
Once
bought it.
once I shell out $60 for this game, it is in my possession. I own it.
Right? I mean, that's
And
the
that's the
law.
crazy thing when you think about it. We pay for games that we technically don't really own, like because
That's
otherwise
true.
we wouldn't get monetized for the music. We wouldn't get monetized for certain gameplays. Like it wouldn't block us to feature such gameplay because like there's like Square Enix has this habit, like in Final Fantasy VII, where once you get past a certain point in the game, it will no longer allow you to stream that part. Well, at least I don't think it allows you to share play it, but I haven't tested it on Twitch yet. I got to see if it'll work. I am planning on doing a gameplay of that at some point. But yeah, like I said, if you paid for the dang thing, you should be able to do what you want with it. I mean, I understand
Right.
not hacking it. I can totally respect that, but let me do what I got to do with it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Um,
I
my
enjoy customizing my stuff.
The thing I got to give about Nintendo though, in its state is, I mean, obviously they're doing something right because right now they are the kings of game right now. They have retained that title, in my opinion, since the Super Nintendo days. I know there was obviously the console wars between them and Sega, but I mean, I'm sorry, but the Nintendo to me was always a superior gaming console because again, we're going back to quality control, consistency, and wide variety of series. I mean, you have Super Mario, Legend of Zelda, Metroid, Star Fox, Mega Man. You have a lot of games that were constantly put in there to keep going. Where, I mean, every time I talk about Sega, the only one I can really think of is Sonic. And then even to today's standards, I mean, yeah, like Sony's gotten
Fantasy
better.
Star.
Sony's got a lot better than that. Fantasy Star, didn't that come out in the Dreamcast days though?
Nope. Started on the Genesis.
Really?
Yep.
I did not know that. We're gonna have to bring that up to Hydra later, because
Oh, sure.
I'm wondering if he knows about that or not.
Right.
But that's shocking to me. But what else besides so Sega, Fantasy Star, and what else?
Oh, let's see. There's Rystar. Um, Oopa Oopa.
But
There's
are these games that you can?
Comic Zone.
But can you really have these games compare against the series that I've named off of?
Some of them, not all of them, of course. Some of them were just like kind of one-offs. A lot of that was how a lot of
So
games were.
then I don't
But then
count.
there's
I wouldn't count
also
that
like
though, because I mean
like
it's got to be
Toy
a
Story.
series
Toy
that
Story was
lasts.
Toy Story was honestly better on the Genesis.
I never played it on the Genesis. I
Was
played it, I
harder.
think, on Nintendo.
It was a lot harder. Um, it also had the better quality pictures because there's actually a glitch in the Genesis hardware where you can actually get it to
Actually,
display 256
you know
color
what?
images.
I will have to take back a statement. There is one series we both forgot, and that's Mortal Kombat.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, Sega was superior at Mortal Kombat games than the Nintendo.
Right, the blood and no
Yeah,
code.
exactly.
And sports games. Sports games were king on Genesis.
I never played sports games, so my opinion
Me
doesn't matter
neither.
that back then. So I'm not
Except for
gonna.
NBA Jam. That was the shit.
I still didn't even play that. I sucked at sport games.
He's on fire.
I still kind of suck at sports games. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I got good at Madden. What was it? 25th, I think it was the 25th anniversary or something like that. That game
Right.
was super fun. I had a cool dream team on there. Other than that, I was never good at sports games. I never liked playing them.
We had on the N64 we had what was it? Kobe Bryant's what was it? That
Courtside.
courtside? Yeah.
Yeah, courtside.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
courtside.
cool.
We had quite a few sports
That was
titles.
a pretty good one.
Yeah, the only other, I mean, actually, I lied. There is one sports game I can say I did play, even though I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but it was fun. Was Blitz.
Blitz was fun.
NFL Blitz, yeah.
Yeah, Blitz
Yeah.
was fun.
Blitz was fun.
Definitely.
But the thing I got to knock on Nintendo for is the fact that they are so nitpicky about sharing their product, meaning like and this is going to lead into the next conversation as well, as a suggestion what they need to do, because the topic I want to talk about was suggestions for Nintendo. So I'm just going to go get mine out of the way, just because it relates to what I feel like they need to work on, and also a suggestion. Let other developers use your product. I mean, there's so many endless possibilities. Like me and Nick, we always talk about how much in depth they can go with the Legend of Zelda series on a PlayStation console, especially using the Unreal Engine. I mean, we've seen fans come out with video of it and do it on their own, and it looks phenomenal. Like, man, like I'm like, how does this not really exist? How does Nintendo not see this as an amazing opportunity? Now, now Nintendo and Sony did have a meeting, and they were discussing, and the number one game that came up was the Legend of Zelda, and I can't think of a better company that would take that and run with it. Just like with Xbox, if Microsoft was to get a hold of a Nintendo game, I feel like the game that they could really knock out of the park would be the Metroid series. For some reason, I feel like that would be a great game for Microsoft. Where Sony, it would be the Legend of Zelda series.
Yeah.
That's my suggestion. They need to let their product out there more. I feel like they'd make a lot more money doing it that way as well, because if they're out of ideas, these third companies are going to get ideas for them, and they're still going to get their piece of the pie in the cut while still promoting the original product. You know what I mean? And you can even, and that's the thing, they can state in the contract, it needs to still relate to the original games. So that way you might tease, so say we play, let's say we play something called The Legend of Zelda the Shadow Sage or something like that. And it still relates to the Ocarina of Time. So, okay, well, now I'm going to want to go play Ocarina of Time on a Nintendo console and see what that storyline was about that led up to these term of events. You know,
right, because there are people that play PlayStation, but they don't play Nintendo, because they think Nintendo is just for kids or something. And then there are people that only play on consoles and don't know anything about PC gaming, you know?
Which is so funny, because I see more adults
like we're in two different worlds
playing Nintendo than I do them playing PlayStation and Microsoft these days. It's like it flipped. Now kids are wanting Sony and Microsoft more than they want Nintendo.
And adults are like, give me that Nintendo. It's easier.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my suggestion, and I think Nintendo needs to work on is being more wider in allowing their product to be used by other companies such as Sony and Microsoft. Pat, is there any suggestions you think Nintendo needs to get down to, whether it's gameplay, whether it's functionality, whether it's graphics? What is something you feel like Nintendo needs to work on?
I don't think I have any problems with what they're doing right now in terms of gameplay or graphics. The newer games look pretty damn good. I haven't played any of them, of course, but from what I've watched and heard,
I mean, if you ever get your hands on a Switch, you gotta play Breath of the Wild. I mean, nothing's more captivating than that game in Nintendo. In my honest opinion, that game is just phenomenal.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about it.
Yeah, I mean, it really does mimic the classic one too, because not only for the open world and doing whatever you want, but also how hard it is. I mean, when I played it, I got my butt kicked in that game. I mean, I just got wrecked so many times.
All I needed was, they told me it was Skyrim, Zelda, and I was like, okay, I'm in.
Literally. Beautiful game. But you can't really think of anything else that Nintendo needs to work on?
No, I actually can't.
Well, I guess in your eyes, Nintendo's doing pretty well then.
Yeah, so far.
What about you, Dragon? I mean, do you feel like there's anything that they need to work on? Do you feel like there's some kinks that they need to work out?
I think really what they need to do is just, they need to quit this exclusivity stuff. They need to quit this lockdown stuff. They need to open up, you know? They just need to become part of the whole gaming community, and then I think we'll all benefit. Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, we're kind of seeing that now with the cross-platforming nowadays, which who knew this was ever going to happen? I mean, we can finally play, let's say, the game Fortnite on Switch, on PlayStation, and Xbox all together. So they are kind of tickling it, you know what I mean? Yeah, they're dipping their toes in the water, and so far they like it, because I have seen them also using a lot of third party, and also what is that term? homebrewed stuff. You know what I mean? Like what are those developers' names, Nick?
Oh, the fan creators.
Not really fan creators. They are gaming companies, but they're like third party. You know, like third party. There
Oh,
you go, third party.
like indie.
Yeah, there you go. Indie games. They're expressing. They're starting to get more with indie games, and that's a huge step for Nintendo, kind of opening the door more.
Indie games have been a great thing for basically every platform that has adopted them.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, of course, they started on PC because that was basically the only place they could really go, you know?
Oh
Like,
yeah, and
all
we've
the
seen a
consoles were
lot of
like, we want all this money to let you on our system, you know?
yeah, and but indie games do so well for themselves. I mean, shit. And I have a couple of favorites that we'll have to discuss. Maybe that's another discussion. Is top indie games that we used to like to play. Um,
Right? Oh, I've got a good list of those because I've played a lot of indie games on Steam. They're
right.
usually really cheap and good.
So, what was another topic you wanted to touch base back on?
Um, Back when the N64 was coming out, we had to wait for it, but we ended up getting it by Christmas, which was at least good.
You know, when the 64 came out, I got lucky and I got it for my birthday. But I mean, it was because of my brother. He begged my dad to get it for me so he can play it. I didn't
Right?
complain when he bought it for us. I'll be honest. Like I really loved that console.
Oh yeah, no, I was blown away that he actually got it because he would go to Toys R Us every morning before he went to work and stand in that huge line with all the other parents, either waiting for Tickle Me Elmos or the N64 because they were both the hottest thing that year, you know.
Yeah.
And
Um,
he's told me all about it. He said it was a crazy wait.
oh, I'm sure. I mean, it seems like Nintendo products are always a crazy wait when they first came out, but eventually it just becomes easier to get.
True,
Um,
true.
one thing I wanted to talk about was, do you guys have any fun stories, Pat?
Well, heated gaming moments, right?
I mean,
Yeah,
they even heated
You get in the heat of the moment, and really trying really hard on this level. You've been playing it for hours. You think you got it down, but then something happens and you don't got it.
I
and then
think
you
And
throw your
you've
controller
wasted
at the
all this time
N64.
and effort, and then you throw the controller either at the TV or the console in a fit of rage.
you know
That actually did this a
That's
few
happened more
times.
times than I could count.
you know what's funny is I never got like that. Instead, I beat myself. I have a habit when I get mad or pissed off at a game, I bite myself or I hit my knee. Instead, because I'm like in my head, I'm like, if I break this, I'm never gonna be able to buy it again. Back then, and I still kind of do that to this day. I'm not gonna lie. Um, Gamer
Yeah, I
rages.
do something similar.
Um, for me, I mean, it was like I said, the brothers. I mean, me and my brothers, like how loud we can get, how crazy we get. Friends, same way. Staying up all night, man. I mean, shoot. I remember when I was playing The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, I'd stay up till 4 in the morning, playing this game because the story was so rich. I couldn't put it down. And that was always my habit. Is if I get into a story, I'm gonna stay up all night playing this game because I'm so into it. I'm like, God, I gotta know what happens next. I gotta know what happens next. Um,
Exactly.
that's always been my favorite thing. But I think too, like when it comes to greatest stories for me was like I said, being a kid at 4 years old, beating a boss his first time ever playing a game. And that's where I was like, I guess destined to be a gamer. Um, and like that whole series of Mega Man was just one of my favorite series of all time, just because I had to get into it. You know what I mean? Because of that one moment, it became one of my favorite games.
Oh yeah,
What about
I
you,
think
Joe?
I
Again,
think we've all had like
you
something like that.
yeah, and what about you? You got any stories you want to share besides the? I mean, obviously you shared one with us earlier about the how you got the Nintendo. Do you have another one?
If I had to come up with one more, um, if I had to come up with one more memory, really good one. Let's see. Oh, the first time I beat Rogue Squadron, that was a hype moment. I I couldn't believe I had done it. Like, it's so hard. Like, just doing the Hoth mission. I think was the first mission is the Hoth mission, and it's just so hard to get your tow cable around the fucking AT-ATs.
Right.
it's a pain in the butt, and it's so finicky. Like if you move even just a little off, it just drops it. I mean, you could be there for hours trying to do it.
Mm,
And
okay.
I don't think that mission ever. I don't think that mission actually stops until you actually do it, or until they blow up the generator.
Right.
That's when they blow up the
That's going
generator.
to be a fun discussion as well. Is favorite game moments, things
Oh yeah.
that made you very emotional or very hyped. Like that's definitely something I'm going to want to touch base, and that's going to open a wide variety. Going from PlayStation, Microsoft, Nintendo, whatever you played. I mean, it's going to be a fun conversation for later on.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to talk about was favorite game series. Dragon. I mean, what was your favorite game series that you can name off of that relates to Nintendo?
So okay, so my favorite game series from Nintendo.
I'm
That's
assuming wouldn't it have to be Mario since you've liked so many other games, or would you feel like it's something else?
well, I mean, I like Mario for the gameplay. I think it's fun, but the story is pretty basic. It's always just, princess is captured, go save her.
Yeah,
Basic RPG plot. Standard RPG plot number 2962.
yeah, for real.
Um, so actually, I would probably say it's probably Zelda because the story. Yeah.
That's
Like
a good
I
choice.
really like a good story that I can sink my teeth into and theorize on and make what ifs and yeah.
I mean, I can't argue with that.
Like what
That's a really good answer.
that's like been one of my favorite things to do lately when I'm just about to go to bed. I'll put on a Dragon Ball what if and just listen to it, or even Star Trek or something like that.
Oh, and we have quite a bit of what ifs of our own that at some point
Oh yeah.
I can't wait to get into that conversation. Um,
Right.
Patman, what about you, bud? What would you say is your favorite game series from Nintendo?
Well, Legend of Zelda is definitely the most story rich and involved. Um, but I have to say Shadows of the Empire. They came up with a pretty um kind of a more unique story with using a different character like straight out of left field. They just left the main cast off and
But that would be more on the lines of like a favorite game as opposed to game series, right? Because isn't Shadows of the Empire a it's just one Star
it
Wars
is a
game.
one off, but it is in the Star Wars universe.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. Um, I have to agree with both of you. Legend of Zelda. It's just there's just too much storyline in it that it's hard to ignore. Like, yeah, you have a good storyline in Metroid. You have one in Star Fox. Mario's storyline isn't that great because, like you said, Nick, it's just the same old thing. It's Mario saving Princess Peach all the time, or Mario fighting Bowser. So, without a doubt, definitely Legend of Zelda. There's just so much rich storyline and such a lore behind it that it's just one of those series you just can't ignore. And it's gotten so complex over the years, going from Nintendo all the way up to the Nintendo Switch, especially because how badly Nintendo deciphered this timeline. That is just one of the biggest argument slash controversies that exists because of the three different timelines.
Infinite content though.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't always. The funniest part, in my opinion, is some of the best things don't have to make any sense. And
That's
this
true.
is one of those times. It doesn't have to make sense. And again, you're opening those doors of variety and topics, and also questions like, the number one talked about thing about Legend of Zelda is where did Breath of the Wild's timeline fall under? And everyone has their opinion and evidence. I have my opinion and also have evidence where I feel that this game takes place in. And we'll talk about that in the Legend of Zelda podcast, which we'll probably get to at some point in the future.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
That has to
Legend
happen.
of Zelda again, and the coolest and the craziest thing, it follows in that suit of, they make sure to mention all the previous Legend of Zeldas. They always make sure that it still stays kind of timed in it. Whether like the whole point is you're a hero who's reincarnated, always saving the princess who's also reincarnated. But different storylines, different love interests, different gameplays, different mechanics, different bosses. I mean, there's just so much to it, but they always keep it very original as well. So definitely agree. Legend of Zelda, probably in fact, one of the number one Nintendo games, which is why I was so upset that we didn't get as such of a celebration for the 35th anniversary that it should have. They went all out for Mario, but yet you're not going to do it for your, in their eyes, their second best selling game. In my eyes, it's the best selling game in Nintendo. It was just downright distasteful. All we got was, Breath of the Wild 2 trailer, more Skyward Sword trailer, and a Game & Watch Legend of Zelda. Like, come on, that's all you got, really?
Right.
Come on.
Yeah, no, it really does feel lackluster.
It was very lackluster, I'll tell you that.
Like Sonic's 30th, they went all out. They had orchestras playing all the best hits, and it was huge.
Yeah,
game releases,
but I mean that's Sega though, so
it's crazy.
Sega's gonna make sure that they make some noise for their products. Any game company's gonna do that.
True.
Favorite consoles
of
Nintendo.
Let's see.
Okay. I'll give you. I'll tell you what,
original.
guys. I'll give you. Okay, original. I was gonna say I'll give you guys, three consoles. Pick 3 consoles that are your favorite.
Okay. The NES, the SNES, and the N64. Because they just had my best. They had my favorite games on them. I mean, I like stuff on Wii too, but.
What about you, Pat?
I'll go with SNES, N64, and did I already say NES? I said SNES first.
Yeah, you said
NES.
Super Nintendo.
Yeah, NES last.
In
that order.
Okay, so Super Nintendo, N64, and NES.
Right.
Okay. Mine, definitely Super Nintendo, N64, and man, this is gonna be kind of rough. I'm gonna have to go with GameCube.
I figured you were gonna go with.
There was
GameCube.
something about GameCube. I mean, I played a lot of games stemming from the classics like Mega Man's, Zelda's, but they also had really cool Ninja Turtle games, and they were a big part of me when I was in that time frame. I was going through a lot of stuff, so my GameCube was my savior in a sense. It was my way to escape things. So GameCube, I'm gonna have to do it. It was gonna be a close second between the Wii or the Switch, but I have to give it to the GameCube. There's just too much behind it of why I had to choose that one.
Oh yeah,
Now I'm all getting emotional. Now I think about what that GameCube did for me back in the day, and even though it was material, but it provided an escape for what I was going through in high school and middle school. So definitely the Nintendo GameCube would be one of my favorite consoles from there. Besides the Super NES, because that's when I really got into gaming. And I just love the colors and the music, man. I mean, the Donkey Kong, Mega Man.
Oh yeah,
like there's just so many games that sounded so amazing on there, and the colors just look so punchy. Like I have to use that term punch because that's what that does. It just punches you right in the screen. Right. But in the GameCube, there's a big reason for that. So definitely my top favorite 3 consoles from Nintendo.
There's just something about the 16-bit era that just had such a style to it,
Oh yeah.
Like both the Genesis and the Super Nintendo were just so stylish in what they did, and they both did it in such different ways. It was unique to each,
Yeah.
You really felt like you were playing a unique system when you played each of them.
And I can't agree with that more. I mean, there was just something about them that they just hit. I mean, it's almost like when you go to a certain restaurant and you always order that same kind of food because it just hits you different than compared to eating a basic burger versus eating this burger from this restaurant. Like it just hits you different. And of course they're never going to tell you that recipe, but it doesn't mean you're not going to forget it,
Right.
So I totally get that.
Taste buds are always going to remember that.
Yeah,
and just like your muscle memory is always going to remember those games.
Yeah, and it's always a fun conversation to bring up old games. Whenever you're in a group or with your family or with random people, when you talk about gaming, you always bring up the SNES and the Sega Genesis.
Right. Right.
You
So
know what I
many
mean?
things always come up. There's always so many memories attached to them.
Yeah, I
Like my
mean,
mom finding me sleeping with the controller in my hand still.
yeah.
Sonic still blaring on the TV.
I won't ever forget my dad. He was actually getting mad at me and my brothers because we were fighting over the Super Nintendo. That he took me to go get my own, and he got me the Donkey Kong one.
Damn.
And it was,
Nice.
yeah, we just literally walked in here, and I was so happy. I had this big old cheeser on my face the entire time.
Oh, I would have too.
So I have to seriously thank him on that.
Right.
I mean, obviously, I have kind of a rocky relationship with my dad, but that's for another story. But I can't say I do appreciate him for providing me with stuff that helped kept me happy.
Right.
I like there's always this conversation with people that don't understand in gaming or understand music or understand anything. Whatever makes you happy and gets through in life is should always be valued at that, and that's
Oh
how
yeah.
I was. You know what I mean? And it took me till I was older to even value it even more when you look back at that.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense because I had a lot of the same things. My one of my favorite memories is going to get Pokemon Red. That was a good one.
How can we leave out the handheld consoles?
Right. I was gonna say the Game Boy and the GBA and all them have
You know
not
what?
made a presence yet.
I'm gonna scrap out the last one that we were gonna talk about. Instead, we're gonna talk about handheld consoles from Nintendo. I feel like that's
Okay.
something there's no way we're gonna leave that out of the conversation. I'm sorry, but this has to happen. Fellas, let's start into this one. Let's go ahead and just throw it out there. Pat, what was your favorite handheld?
Uh, well, I never got my hands on the original Game Boy Color.
We
Game Boy
had
Color.
an original Game Boy for a little while because
Wow, did we?
it was Christmas and the color was coming out and it was
Hmm.
sold out. Papa tried to get me one. Um, and so I had an original Game Boy for about a week, and then they were like, "All right, bring it in. We got them in, and we'll trade it for a color."
Oh, cool.
Cool.
And so that was the coolest thing. And then and then I think I only had Paperboy originally with it, or I can't remember what else I had. I had Paperboy and something else.
Hmm.
Um, it's been so long I can't remember what the other game was,
Right.
and I know they're both long gone by now.
Right.
But and then I begged my dad for Pokemon Red, and he finally was like, "All right, let's go to Walmart." And it was old school Walmart, the one on Academy. I don't know if you know that one. I don't know if you've ever been there,
Yeah, I've been there.
but do you remember when the electronics section was in the middle of the store,
You know,
not the back?
it's funny. A lot of stores were like that, weren't they?
Yeah, yeah. A lot of stores had electronics right in the middle, and then like everything else like surrounding it. I think like home stuff was in the very back where electronics is today.
Yeah.
And but yeah, we went there and we saw it and it was cheaper than he thought. He was like, "Oh shit, it's cheaper than I thought," you know?
Yeah.
He was thinking, he was used to like, 60, $80 for a cartridge game,
Yeah.
But for the Game
Which is
Boy, it was only
ridiculous
like
pricing, if you ask me. But
it
whatever.
was only like $38, I think.
Yeah, because I mean, the Game Boy games were just cheaper in general.
Yeah, because they're a lot smaller. The chips are a lot smaller. They don't cost as much to make those small chips.
Right.
Plus, in the mid '90s, we got this chip boon where they found a huge deposit of really really good silicon, and they were able to sell it off real cheap.
Mm. Okay.
So we got a huge chip boom, exactly the opposite of what we're going through right now,
Right. Okay.
which is the chip shortage from
So
bad silicon.
with that, what was your favorite Game Boy? Because I mean, obviously they're all called Game Boy throughout the
Right.
years.
So my favorite is one I've actually never had. It's the Game Boy Pocket Color Light.
Is that one that looks like the Game and Watch I bought you?
No, no. The what I'm talking about is it's an original Game Boy style, and it has a light in it, a built-in light,
Hmm.
kind of like the SP, the
Okay.
GBA SP. But it's just a regular Game Boy Color. It was only sold in Japan.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, they're pretty rare.
That's crazy.
And
I thought they all had lights in them. That's the trip.
yeah, I remember having to hook the big accessories up all the way
To the
up,
Game
all the
Boy
way through
Color?
the
Are
original
you sure
GBA.
the Game Boy Color?
Yeah, the Game Boy Color didn't have a
I
light.
swear, me and my brothers had one where it had a built-in light in it.
Maybe modified. I've
No,
seen
no, no, no.
modified.
We bought these from the store because we all got them as I think a Christmas stocking. We all got our own Game Boys because
With a
we also because we had the classic Game Boy, but we also got Game Boy Colors, and like because I remember we had a blue, a red one, and a yellow one, and they all had a built-in light in them.
huh. That's weird because I don't I don't know if that's is that wait, that's a mod. Backlight kit.
Yeah, I'm remembering it clear as day right now.
Huh. Weird. I don't remember ever seeing these.
Now you see it.
I'm looking online. Game Boy Co Game Boy Light color.
Because David had a purple clear one.
Huh. Yeah, apparently there was.
Yeah, see? I
Oh, this
know.
is the one that was, oh no, this is the one that was released in Japan.
But I'm telling you, like we had them though.
According to Wikipedia, they were never for sale here.
Unless somehow my parents caught them at the right time. I mean, I don't know, but we had them, and David had one too.
Huh.
Because he used to get caught all the time playing that late at night.
Huh.
Because when and here's the thing is, it was kind of stupid because we thought it was dumb that when they went into the Game Boy Advance, it had no more light. You had to buy another light for it. So we're like, why the heck would they have it in the old ones but not in the new ones?
Yeah, for the rest of us, we were like, that's how it always was. We just had to have a light.
Yeah, it was a trip to me because I remember I don't know how I got one. I think I traded for it. I traded something for it for a Game
I
Boy
had
Advance because my parents would not buy me one for some odd. Well, no, that was when my stepmom was here and she was like very nitpicky back then. I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna be nice.
I had a
Um,
room light, and that was how I played mine.
yeah, I don't. To me, it was baffling because, like I said, I remember the Game Boy Colors having light, and then when to the Advance, you had to buy a light for it. So it was kind of stupid to me. It didn't make no sense, but I guarantee we had it. But
It's not listed.
we'll talk more about this off the show.
Yeah.
So Game Boy Light obviously was your favorite one that you never owned. For me, I'd have to go with the Game Boy Advance SP. It was the most comfortable Game Boy for me, as crazy as that sounds. And I liked it was very bright, and you can play not only the advanced games, but you can also play the Game Boy Color games. So to me, that had a lot of value in it, and I liked how because it was a squared console, you can flip it like a flip phone and just put it in your pocket and it'd be safe.
Sure.
So
Yeah, no risk of damaging the screens.
exactly. So definitely Game Boy SP was my favorite back then.
Yeah, that always bugged me about the GBA.
Was there a particular favorite game that you had, Pat, for the Game Boys? I mean, it can be from Game Boy all the way up.
I only actually ever remember Pokemon.
Pokemon, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, did you even own a Game Boy if you didn't play Pokemon?
No, exactly. Like, did you really Game Boy without a Pokemon game?
Right? Did you really Game Boy? I have all mine. I have yellow. I got red. I got.
I'm
blue,
assuming that's going to be your favorite game too, right, Nick?
Oh yeah.
Okay. But which version?
Oh, it's a hard one. If we're talking the pure games, the original form.
No, we're talking about I mean from Game Boy, I mean from Pokemon Red and Blue up to today's.
Fan modified.
No, mods don't count. You
I'm
should know
talking
that.
unmodified.
Yes, unmodified, obviously.
My favorite unmodified Pokemon game will always be Red. Like it's just unbeatable. At least in my mind.
And I think Red is just an iconic game. I mean, You look at anyone who can look at that can know. I mean, obviously not to younger kids these days, but Red was the game that started it all.
True.
Pat, what about yours?
I would say,
I mean, we both mostly just taken to playing Crystal Clear nowadays.
yeah, seriously.
So Crystal Clear is your favorite?
Yeah, pretty much. Good
Okay.
all-rounder,
Okay.
It's really fun. It's
yeah.
Gen 2 and 1.
I never played it. I never had a chance to play it.
You never played Crystal?
No, I didn't have a chance to play Crystal. I never played Silver and Gold. In fact, I still need to get me a copy of Heart Gold. Oh, I'm sorry, Soul Silver. I really want to play that again because Lugia is one of my favorite legendaries of all time, and the 3 legendary dogs are also one of my favorite legendaries of all time. You got to remember, my parents were very nitpicky and also kind of strict what they bought us. So sometimes I didn't. If I chose a game, it was mainly a console game. So by then, I wasn't into Game Boys as much as I used to be. Because there was a period where, like I said, I got away from the Game Boys and was playing more consoles. But then I got back into the Game Boys once I got my SP. But back then, again, I was limited to what I was able to buy because of my parents. So,
Right.
Because we're on the topic of Pokemon, I'll just go ahead and give you my favorite Pokemon game. Definitely Fire Red. Really liked Fire Red for the Advance. Now, when it comes to favorite Game Boy game, I'm going to have to tip my hat and throw it to Mega Man 03. That game was ahead of its time, in my opinion. It was so cool. It was funny because I don't remember Zero as much as I should have because I did play the X series, but I didn't get to play all the X games, so I'll get into that at some point. But Mega Man 03 was an amazing game. I really liked the gameplay. I liked how it just felt like you were this Mega Man. Obviously, obviously he's not Mega Man, but I'm just using this as an example for people who don't know what Mega Man is. But you're this guy, robot, running around with a saber sword and a gun, but then you can unlock a boomerang shield and also these... man, I can't remember. I know they start with T. Pat, do you know what those weapons are called where they kind of look like batons, but martial artists use them and sometimes they have a blade at the end?
Nunchucks?
No, not nunchucks. They're like T-shaped, but they hold them underneath their forearm.
I think I know what those are. I think I know what you're talking about, but I can't place the name of them.
I know they start with a T, but pretty much you get those as well. So like it had a wide variety of weapons you can use in that game, which I thought was super cool. But it was also unique because you were fighting bosses that weren't named, Waterman, Lightning Man. Yeah, they actually had legitimate names. Man. Yeah, they were legitimately named characters. So it was a very unique game. Slight RPG in it. You could have these things called fairies that help, give you certain boosts and stats. It was a super fun game. Definitely my favorite Game Boy game. I can safely say there was just so much in it. Because, it's easy to say, obviously my favorite game would have been the Legend of Zelda remake, or, the remaster version, the Ocarina of Time one. But anyone's going to say that. I'm not anyone. I'm going to choose different stuff, because obviously that's just too easy to pick.
Right. I realize my answer is kind of generic, but it's the truth, Yeah,
go with your gut. Go with your honesty.
My selection of games was very limited.
Well, obviously there's a reason why you pick it too, so.
Right. That's partially why. If I had more games, I probably would have picked something else, but
right.
Honestly, it's the truth.
So
it's so good.
Guys, do you have any other topics you want to touch base on with Nintendo?
No. I'm pretty much out of ideas.
Patman?
Can't think of anything, no.
No, I think we pretty much covered a lot of ground here on how we feel about Nintendo's products and where it should be. Briefly discussing and touching base of what started as a company for us and where it led to us being with the company and the games that we still value to today's standards and why we like them. The only thing left to say is, I still got to tip my hat and thank Nintendo for providing us with such a titanic product that we can all love and share and value. That just, it's more than just a product. It's more than just material. It's literally helping us escape through what we're going through in our everyday lives, and even putting us in a fantasy of what we've always wanted to do in our minds, and to bring it to fruition in some kind of form in a game. You know what I mean? Like they gave us so much over the years and stay consistent, and gave us series and characters that we really can bond and love with, and I have to thank them for that.
Oh yeah, especially the programmers and shit. Like game dev is
Yeah,
hard,
I mean, absolutely. Hats off to all the game developers and the story writers that are the real MVPs behind it. Nintendo is the brand, but I mean, I feel like no one ever really gives credit to those guys. I mean, they're the reason why these things even exist.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh yeah. There was a time early in the game development world where they didn't actually want to develop or give developers credit because they were afraid that they would get stolen.
the developers would get stolen.
Yeah, they get.
I understand that, but at the
grabbed
same
by other
sense, like
companies.
you gotta still, like, you don't be
You
that.
gotta respect
Don't
them.
be that company. Give credit
Right.
where credit is due. These guys are the ones who built your company to being what it is today. We're the ones who bought the product to build it to where it is today. So at least give everyone credit who deserves it. And I'm definitely going to give credit to those guys that developed and bust their asses off. Probably didn't even celebrate most holidays with their families because of us. So,
True.
as small as we're starting off in this podcast, and I hope this reaches out to everyone, and I hope everyone joins in with us on this, to say thank you to all those developers and story writers and programmers that made it possible for these games to come to light and bring us that moment of escape and that moment of peace within players, and unite us all together for something. I mean, this is as united as it is for a sports fan. Everyone's going to be united when it comes to relating to sports. Well, here's our chance as gamers to unite and discuss about things that help build us memories and foundations of who we are today.
We are not just pale nerds sitting in a basement.
No, there's some out there, but you don't. It's okay to be a pale
they're the
nerd
real
sitting in the
ones,
basement.
too.
You
They're
guys,
the real ones too.
guys, you do you, boo boos. Okay, y'all do yourselves. But
Right.
I think that kind of cuts the episode for now, guys. Personally, I want to thank everyone who does tune in and listen to Mancave Chronicles with us. This is Touchy Base with Nintendo. Can't wait to bring you guys more content, and hopefully bring in the other two fellas that were supposed to be in here today. Unfortunately, they were out doing some other stuff that were more important. Guys, you have anything else you want to say to the fans?
Not really. Just have a good night, and or whatever it is.
Batman?
And, chill.
I just want to say I hope you enjoyed the podcast. I hope you come back for more. It's always a bumpy start with the first one.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And
A lot of nerves and jitters.
yeah, but it's exciting. I can't wait to finally meet
Definitely.
and relate to all these other gamers and people and fans. Can't wait to hear their critiques, whether they love it or hate it. It's still something we got to learn. And again, please leave a like. Please leave a dislike. I mean, leave a comment. Talk to us what we should work on, what we shouldn't work on. Hell, bring us your guys' opinions on Nintendo. Where do you guys stand with it? Where do you guys feel like it should take off on it? And maybe it's something we can retouch base back on, and even bring your ideas into the show and talk about it, and give our own opinions and breakdowns of what you're talking about. So if you guys like the content, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're still getting everything in together. Follow the links. You'll see mine, which is going to be Mr. Reaper's Gaming and Entertainment. We have Dark Dragons Gaming. And Patman, I know we've discussed this before, but you're not really YouTube ready, but I'm sure eventually you probably will have a channel. So guys, we'll touch base back on that as time moves on. But again, thank you guys so much for tuning in to us. We hope to see you next time. Enjoy the rest of your guys' day. Everyone, please stay safe out there. Leave a like, dislike, or subscribe. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Peace.